Hello and welcome to another episode of the Australian Small Business Show. Christy Lee, how are you today?
Hey Matt, I'm great. And I'm going to do a little cheeky plug here because today we're talking about the importance of having an email list. And so I'm going to ask all of our listeners to right now head to the australiansmallbusinessshow.com.au and subscribe to our weekly newsletter so we can have you on our email list where we're going to share tips with you each and every week.
Every Monday morning, there'll be tips that haven't made the podcast, and you certainly won't be able to see them on the YouTube channel, which we do have now as well.
Fantastic. We're everywhere. So, as we preface, today we're talking about the importance of having an email list. How long have you been creating email lists in your businesses, Matt?
Forever.
Yeah.
I still use Excel sometimes.
Well, sometimes a good old-fashioned spreadsheet. In fact, the content plan for this podcast is on a spreadsheet. So I love a spreadsheet. I'm not opposed to that at all.
But I will say that I did lose a spreadsheet once, probably about 20 years ago. It was a very, very important spreadsheet. So I tend to back up my spreadsheets very often and in different places.
Now, for most of our listeners, they will have their email list on a much more sophisticated program, as do I. But email lists are so important to have in business, aren't they? I think in this day and age, lots of people are very focused on social media followers, engagement on social media, LinkedIn connections, LinkedIn DMs, but you can't beat a good old-fashioned email list.
They're very valuable. I mean, there's some industries where people pay a lot of money
Yeah.
to get hold of email lists, and that's not just by buying an email list. Businesses can be bought and sold on the back of
Mm.
their their email list. So I think we talk a lot about social media. And I think as a small business owner, you're probably sitting there thinking, I need to do posts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Mhm.
And you think that's going to get you customers. But really, the top of the mountain, your first mountain there should be picking up an email address.
Absolutely. I've heard it referred to as owned, earned, and paid, and your email list is the only thing you own. Everything else is,
Absolutely.
if you're relying on an audience or a following on social media, that can disappear overnight. And we've seen social platforms do that.
Yep. Oh,
Um,
and losing access to them as well. I mean, getting
oh, that's
hacked and,
happened. Yeah.
and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the email list is the only list that you actually own, like legally. And if you can put some love into that list and really have that list engaging with you, that's a direct line to your pool of audience or your potential customers that you can reach whenever you want.
Yeah, exactly. So it's that, the old, when I first started trying to grow a business, working in business, it was those touch points. They called them touch points. And
Yeah.
and and back in the day, it was, you know, phone call,
Yeah.
brochure, business card. But now really, we're really just saying those touch points are really done electronically in terms of an email sequence or something like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I still have flashbacks of my statistics forms in my recruitment days back in the early 2000s where every phone call got a little stroke on there. But email is where it's at for sure. And there's no other medium like it where you can really get it right and get it wrong very quickly. And I've noticed that this year I've mixed up, not mixed up, but changed up how, what I'm communicating with my list on a weekly basis. And I've made it a lot more personal. I do not use
Yeah,
any
I've
AI.
noticed here I'm doing a little bit more um, about Christie stuff.
Yeah, and I'm sharing things that are happening actually really for my members or my clients in that
Yep.
week. Of course, very confidentially without naming anyone. But these are real things that are happening to real people, and they will be happening to people on my email list as well. And we've noticed a significant increase in open rates with that change,
Yeah, right.
going from two
That's
emails to one a week,
Yep.
and like there's just no AI in it. I write it in the moment every week.
Yep.
I share how many tabs because that's a bit of a running joke that I have open on my laptop at any one time because it's a bit out of control.
I do. I think we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago, and you said my laptop's running pretty slow, and I said, why don't you just shut it down? You said I can't. I've got too many tabs
Yeah.
open.
Well, my open tabs are like my to-do list, but like I do have a to-do list, but I also have an open tab count. So that's a really interesting shift for me in terms of I've been sending regular emails forever
Yep.
and making that change. to let people, behind the scenes a little bit, to just be human to human with them, to say, the most interesting thing open is my Disney Wait Times app at the moment, and letting them
Yeah,
know what's
yeah.
really going on. I think people want that at the moment too.
I think you're right. So we've just said having social media on its own is very risky,
Yep.
right? So I think you can't just sit there and think that getting a few likes and some comments and interactions are going to enter that person into that journey to become a customer.
No.
So you need to actually show them the way. So how does a small business owner go about, start building an email list?
Look, this is a great question. And I think what I want to say here is that this is for every industry. Yeah, I run
Yeah,
an online business, so
absolutely.
I'm approaching it in a particular way. You run an accounting firm, that's different for you. Tradies, you need your email list. Hospitality businesses, please, oh, please get an email list, because it can really be hugely beneficial when you need to promote something. So think about the interaction you're having with your customers and how you can collect an email address easily and friction-free from them
Yep.
in exchange for something. So no one's going to say, sure, just have my email address. They used to 20 years ago, but that doesn't happen anymore. I remember going to trade shows where it's just like, write down your email address and we'll send you an email. They're like, yeah, absolutely. That's not the case anymore. There's got to be a value exchange, I think, for people
Yep.
to
And
give you
and
their
that's
email
changed.
address.
Like that's changed lately too, hasn't it?
Oh, way more. Like I'm even more selective about giving out my email
Yep.
address because my inbox is out of control. So they've got to see value. So if you're a restaurant, so we can let you know about the monthly specials, or so we
Yep.
can let you know when we've got a promotion on.
New menu.
Sign up for our email address to get a free drink when you come, or a free appetizer or something.
Yep.
Give some value in exchange for that email address, because that's their, personal information that they're giving you, and in exchange you are going to contact them via that email. So I
Absolutely.
think thinking about the interactions and what you can give in exchange for that email address. And it might be that you're going to tell them, when the best time is to get the gutters cleaned at their property, and how you can help them with that. Like it doesn't have to be a physical gift, but some exchange of value is key. And making it easy for them to do it. Everyone's got a website these days. Have a way on your website for your potential customers to sign up for
Yep.
your email list. And people aren't going to sign up for just anything. You've got to give them something for it.
Yep. I agree. And there's different. I've always looked at it as being like different types of lists. There's
Mm.
the you don't know me yet list. You know me, you love me. And that's how I've always looked at it. I've got three lists all the time. It's the you're not my customer right now.
Mm.
You are my customer, and you tell people to be my customer. They're my
Yeah.
they're my three pots that I
Yeah.
work with my lists.
Yeah.
So let's start with the first list. Like you said, it's about moving them from not knowing you to buying something you're selling.
Yeah. So these are what we would call in our world cold leads, or
Yep.
people that are prospects to you. And look, this is, potentially getting a bit technical, but so if you've got no email list, don't stress about this. Just get people on a list. And as Matt said, it can be on an Excel spreadsheet if you
It
need it to
can
be.
It could be on a piece of paper.
It doesn't matter. Just own it somewhere. So if you don't have an email list and you're thinking, oh my God, there's types of email lists, no, just get people's email addresses somehow. And here's a missed opportunity. When people do work with you, get their email address, because
Absolutely.
that's a bit like that doesn't happen very
And I
often.
think look, we're talking about an email list right now, but it can be a phone number list too. It's just
Of course, yeah, today's
so
about emails, yeah,
yeah.
but it could be anything. But so if you don't have an email list right now and you're doing business, you're an electrician, you're going out and you're seeing people, when you're out doing, maybe you're doing the transaction on site with them, can I get an email to send you a follow-up or a
Oh,
receipt, or
send you the invoice.
send you the invoice, ideally, yes. So those are the interactions where you've got opportunity, where people will say, of course, absolutely, here's my email address. A lot of retailers are doing it at the moment. So
Yep.
if you don't have an email address, an email list, don't stress about this bucket situation. But yeah, the new people coming in, you want to send them, probably, ideally, and I'm not great at this, different communication to those that have been hanging out in your world for a while. So
Yep.
you want to
It's
nurture them.
yeah, the idea is to nurture them, to move them towards, right? So
Yeah.
like you were saying before, it could start off with some practical tips and information, followed by a personal story about
Yeah.
yourself so you start building trust. And then the offers will come later on in that sequence.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to step in and just for a moment say if there's background noise on this episode, apparently half of our neighborhood is having trees cut down today. So I apologize if that is coming through the audio. Yeah, you want them to, this is about building that know, like, and trust.
Yep,
So, and also don't forget to tell them how you might be able to help them, not in the first email necessarily, but certainly in a further email. Don't forget you are actually selling a product or a service here at some point. So, you want to nurture them, but you also want to let them know, hey,
absolutely,
if you
yeah.
want help with this,
And
this is how I can help.
that's quite a skill, isn't it?
Yes.
Being
I think
able
one
to
you still need to
offer.
learn.
Oh, and I think it changes too with the type of product and service
Yeah.
you're doing. So,
Yeah.
if you are, for example, selling something that is a big investment, it's going to take a
Hmm.
lot more nudging towards that than it is for a widget.
Oh, of course. Yeah. So let's use a real life example here. So a client of mine is a solar and electrical business in Victoria. And a lot of the solar installations that they do, they're high price solar. They do high quality work with high quality products on bigger properties. It isn't for a lot of their customers necessarily an in the moment decision. They're considering it, they're thinking about it, they're perhaps, I'm not sure, saving for it. So they're nurturing those people through a very deliberate email sequence and touch point sequence with their team to get to that sale. And that's very
Yeah,
different to, I'm buying a book on Amazon.
that's right. And also, yeah, that's right. So they're going through, and there's at some point in time, there's the hard sell happens, doesn't
Mm,
it? So at some
yeah,
point in time, you can't a sequence like that. From what I've learnt and done training on, is that it flows through it, and there'll be a point in time where it continues or it flips off to
yes,
another another sequence, which might be that that particular person didn't want to buy your product at that particular time, but something happens in 6 months' time that you've still got the email address and you can still blast something out to them and say, hey, look, this has changed. I think this my product's now going to be for you.
sure. Or just you're keeping in touch with them so that you're front of mind when they do make a different decision about that purchase. So, then you've got the people that are not in an immediate buying sequence, but they're on your list. So you want to keep in touch with them. Like nothing worse than emailing them once every year and saying, oh, hey, remember me? So you want to be doing some, outreach, and how often will be dependent on your business and your industry. I mean, I am on my
Yeah.
list weekly, but that would be too much for some industries. So
Yeah.
you want to be thinking about that cadence. And then your other category was those who love you. So what, people that are recommending your product or service?
Oh no, when well, that's the last list for me. So
Yeah.
the customers, when they're your customer, I think it's
Mm,
very important to maintain
yeah.
an updated email list as well, particularly if you're working in a an environment where there might be some legislation changes
Mm,
or new things happening. You want to be constantly keeping your customers up to date. So I think whilst they're your customer, and look, we've talked about this on the podcast before. I'd much prefer to sell to my customers than to the first pot
yeah.
we were talking about. So
Yeah.
so even when they're my customers, I'm still providing them with a sequence of emails where they're either purchasing more of what I'm offering
Mm,
or they're referring their friends as well.
yeah.
So I think it's really important whilst they're customers, you don't sort of think, well, now you're my customer, I'll forget about communicating with you.
Yeah.
Um,
Or
I,
now we've
I
stopped working together. I'm going to forget about communicating with
That's
you.
right. So,
Yeah.
and I look at that. I mean, we can go into further detail there. It's when people have left
Mm,
my service, they still remain
mm.
as a contact for me, and they still get communication from me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're one of these businesses that has a much more sophisticated email system, you will, of course, be able to tag and segment your
Yep.
list so that certain communication is going to certain people. But for many of us, that's just not the game we're playing. But having an email list of some sort so that we can say, oh, next month we're going to have a sale on this product. We've got a way to reach people to tell them that we've got a sale on this
Oh, it
product.
could even be as simple as the case where we're not. It's Melbourne Cup Day. Our office will be closed at 12.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. Or staff RDO day or
Yep.
Christmas close downs, all of those things. So
Yep.
it can be for any part of communication. And perhaps we should look to get a marketing email segmentation expert on at some point to talk us through
Yep.
some of
Oh,
those tools.
and yeah, talk about the specific tools because we both use different ones for this.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And the tool can be important if you are needing to segment and do some more sophisticated sort of stuff with your list. So we'll look to get an expert on to talk through that from a more technical perspective. But our encouragement today is if you don't
Build
have an
one.
email list, build one. And if you've got one, are you using it as effectively as you could be for your business?
And I think also too, and this is the obviously the accountant in me,
Mm.
is understand the laws in
Oh,
respect
100%,
to
yeah.
who you can and can't send emails to.
Yes, yeah. People need to opt in, they need to be able to opt out. And I've had a few actually that I've ended up on lists lately where there's no easy unsubscribe at the bottom of the email. That's a big no-no. So,
It's a bit cheeky that.
and if you are doing business with overseas businesses, you will have different rules. Our rules in Australia are relatively lax in comparison to some European countries. So, just know that if you are doing business overseas, you will have different email requirements there as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy.
All right, now last reminder, come over to the australiansmallbusinessshow.com.au and subscribe to our weekly newsletter where we're going to share extra tips over and above what we share here on the
Yeah,
podcast.
it's that little bit of extra value
That's right.
in
It's the value
exchange for your
exchange.
email address.
Exactly. Practicing what we preach here, team. All right, thanks, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks, Christy.